NebulaOne is a turnkey infrastructure-as-a-service platform based on OpenStack that provides elastic compute, storage, and networking services. The solution consists of Nebula hardware and software coupled with certified industry-standard servers known as cloud nodes. At the heart of NebulaOne is the Nebula Cloud Controller, a hardware appliance that provides the cloud infrastructure management and orchestration services. Your workload runs on the servers that you plug into the cloud controller. The disk's CPU and memory are all added to the shared pool of resources in the cloud when you plug them in. Nebula supports compute, block and object storage, and network out of the box with no other third-party hardware or software, with the exception of the servers you plug in. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at how easy it is to provision resources with NebulaOne. The Nebula console is an intuitive, easy-to-use self-service interface. To quickly start consuming resources, let's go ahead and log in, and then click on the Compute Cloud app. So from here, we can select from a variety of images to launch an instance from. For the purposes of this demo, we're going to click on the Ubuntu 12.04 image. We're going to name the instance Nebula Instance 1, and we're going to choose a flavor. Flavors are virtual hardware templates defining sizes for RAM, disk, number of cores, and so on. And for this demo, we're going to choose the n1.tiny flavor, and we'll click Launch. After a few moments, we have a computing resource ready for use. So by default, all cloud instances are behind a built-in firewall called security groups. If you would like to expose the instances to your network using NAT, we can add a floating IP address. In order to do that, we just click on Add over here and hit Add. So now an IP address is being pulled from the resource pool and attached to our instance. It's also possible to define custom firewall rules via security groups for any instance. So for instances requiring additional storage, we can add storage volumes that appear as block devices to the instances by clicking on Attach over here. And then we'll click on the plus sign to create a net new volume, and we'll give it a name, we'll give it a size, and we'll click Create. So once the volume has been created, we're going to click Attach, and now that block volume has been attached to the instance. Nebula also supports an object storage that is S3 API compatible. For those who prefer to programmatically interact with the cloud, Nebula supports the OpenStack Infrastructure-as-a-Service APIs, along with Amazon's popular EC2 and S3 APIs. In order to find out what the API endpoints are, we're going to click up here and choose API Access. Qlogic augments these Infrastructure-as-a-Service APIs with a full range of platform services. Now let's go take a look at how we can use Qlogic's Platform as a Service to rapidly deploy databases and applications with NebulaOne.
The Qlogic platform is an Amazon-compatible suite for developing and deploying mobile and web applications on any cloud. Qlogic PaaS eliminates the need for developers to install, configure, and manage the application infrastructure, empowering them to do what they do best, coding quality applications. The platform integrates with NebulaOne and extends the capabilities of OpenStack compute, storage, and network with application infrastructure service to build a highly scalable private cloud. NebulaOne integrated with Qlogic platform is a comprehensive cloud solution and provides not only infrastructure as a service, but also platform as a service, database as a service, NoSQL as a service, such as MongoDB-as-a-Service, and more. Now let's log into the Qlogic dashboard. Let's walk through some of the cloud services that we have integrated to run with NebulaOne. One of the most important Amazon Web Services is RDS, Relational Database Service. Let's take a look at how the Qlogic Database Service provides RDS-compatible cloud services for hybrid clouds. Our goal is to keep parity with Amazon Web Services. So if you're familiar with Amazon RDS, the Qlogic Database Service shouldn't look any different in terms of concepts, features, and operations. Similar to RDS, to launch a database instance, we'll click on the Details tab under Database Services and go to the predefined subscriptions or plans. Here you can see we have two different sized database instances we can choose from. A small MySQL database instance as an example, and if you don't wish to customize operational related features such as automated backup, frequency, or retention policies, then simply select Launch to provision the database. Enter a database name and click Launch. Qlogic's platform installs monitoring agents to check the availability and performance of the database. All database instances are by default configured for auto backups daily, which can be customized by the user. Looking at the NebulaOne interface, you can see the MySQL instance being provisioned now. Now, while this database instance is getting provisioned, let's take a look at other features such as creating replicas for scaling out applications. We'll use an existing MySQL instance to show adding a read-only replica. Simply choose Read-Only Replica from the Actions menu to do so. This will launch a new slave instance and configure replication from the production DB database instance. You can now configure your apps to perform reads from the slave and continue to do write operations on the master database. Just like Amazon RDS, Qlogic Database-as-a-Service allows you to restore or provision a new database instance from your existing snapshot or as an on-demand snapshot. Here we'll click Create Snapshot. We'll select an instance, and then we'll give it a name. And then click Create. It's also possible to do a point-in-time restore for times when you want to restore from a backup. Qlogic performs backups of transaction log files and can restore your database to a particular time from the last snapshot. Qlogic Database Service is very similar to Amazon Web Service RDS, and you will notice similar functionality called parameter groups, access groups, to customize the performance metrics and security groups on the database instances. That was a feature of one of Qlogic's cloud service. Now let's switch gears and see how we can deploy applications on Qlogic PaaS. Qlogic PaaS supports Java EE, Spring, Rails, PHP, and Python, with support for a variety of frameworks and data services. To deploy an application, select Deploy App and provide the application name and application artifacts, which in the case of Java apps are WAR files. Then we'll select an optional descriptor file and the test web WAR file. Then we'll click Deploy. Once we've uploaded the application, the Qlogic PaaS introspects the application's descriptor file to identify the services required to deploy the app. Here we see the app is Java EE, which uses a Tomcat engine and an Nginx load balancer. Then we'll click Finish. And in a few minutes, this app will be accessible. You can view the configuration events under the Events tab. The Qlogic Autoscaler will scale application tiers based on default CPU and memory thresholds. Qlogic Health Agents are constantly monitoring the health of provisioned services and will recover these services in the event of a service or instance failure. If you'd like to customize autoscaling thresholds, you can choose Autoscaling from the Actions menu, and then click on the parameter name and whatever you would like to set that threshold to. As you saw, you can rapidly deploy clustered databases and multi-tiered applications using Qlogic's solution with the NebulaOne private cloud.